Welcome to Mind Your Heart podcast, your favorite corner of the internet where we chat about all things mental health. I'm Emily.
And I'm Trina. Together, we're like your real life Lorelai and Rory Gilmore. Each week, we'll bring you real conversations about the world of mental health, and we will peel back layers on topics like anxiety, depression, and much more.
We're here to chat with you about the tough stuff, the everyday stuff, and everything in between. So grab your emotional support water bottle, I know we have ours, find your comfiest chair, or keep your eyes on the road, and let's get into it. Are you ready, Mom?
Absolutely. Join us as we mind our hearts and hopefully make minding yours a little easier.
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Mind Your Heart. We're in a little bit different of a setting today because we are having guests.
Yay. And you know
Yay.
what? I'm going to have to pay you $5 because I just realized that this is recorded. And, I'm so used to doing my podcast. I have two other podcasts. Well, they're over right now, but I've done two other podcasts. And I've never done like live. I mean, I've done live. I've never done
Like the
video
version.
I've never used the video until like the last year of one of them. And I was like, I'm going to start using this on social, but I didn't record it. So I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about getting dressed today. What was I thinking?
You look good. So I don't think that there's anything wrong. I mean, like, I currently am, I am on day 28, 29 of my cycle. So, like, I am breaking out a little bit more. I also had gluten and
Oh,
dairy.
so much gluten and dairy.
Yeah.
So much. I woke up as a grouchy Gus. And I'm like, I am a grouchy Gus. That's what my
Grouchy
friend from
Gus.
Canada says. Yeah, she says she's a grouchy Gus. And I'm like, I like that. So I'm a grouchy Gus today because of the gluten and the dairy.
I was a
And
gassy Gus last night because of gluten.
gross. Goose or what is it? Gassy Gus gross. Anyway, alliteration. So today we're gonna be talking to a guest, and that's
Yeah,
exciting.
we
Yeah.
are gonna have Caroline. I believe her last name is pronounced Sherratt. I'm gonna ask her when she comes on so that
All
we
right.
can see if she needs to correct me. But I'm so excited to have Caroline. Caroline and I met for the first time when I went to a retreat that she co-hosted, called She's Connected in Bali, Indonesia. That was in March. So Caroline is a yoga teacher and a meditation facilitator with a trauma-informed lens to support the holding of any body. She combines embodied, bodily-based practices with mindfulness and nervous system regulation. Her biggest wish is to create safe spaces where people are aided in softening the walls that we place upon our hearts, allowing ourselves to feel an essential part of being a human. Human to human co regulation is a pivotal part of a return home to ourselves, so she adores creating classes, containers, events, and retreats in which community and connection is fostered. So I think this is going to be great.
Oh, I think that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
I love all of that, especially like the whole like connection with people and just being really aware of your own body and yourself. And I just really think that's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I mean, when I first met Caroline, I had just gotten off my crazy travel day in Bali, where I like lost my luggage and I had been traveling for like 36 hours. And I was just like exhausted and I had never met any of these women in person before. And I walked into the retreat and like I'm pretty sure like within like the first hour of meeting Caroline, like she just like held me while I cried. And it was
Oh,
just like I had never felt like so safe and comfortable with someone I had just met
yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm so grateful that she is coming on today.
That's really cool. That's sometimes you meet those people. I was just telling this to someone. Oh yeah, someone that we're doing Digital Course Academy together. And I was just telling her like sometimes you meet people and you just instantly it's like your soul has found your soul partner. Like you have found your person. I mean, like it's like you know each other from some other realm and you just instantly connect. I love when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So you want to get on with the show?
Yep. So welcome, Caroline. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
Yes, good. Just so grateful to be here. So thank you. It feels really special.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on.
Yeah, it's exciting. So tell a little bit, like our listeners, a little bit about who you are, like what you like your bottoms up approach. Like I'm interested in that. Like just a little bit about who you are to start with.
Okay, who I am. Such a broad question.
Yes, yes, yes.
um,
I should have given you some
if I
context.
was,
Yeah.
no, I love it. I love it. If I was to use labels, it would be I teach yoga and meditation, and I really do believe that these are such pillars in my life. They really do set the foundation for how I show up in the world. And when you refer to the bottom up approach, I really see these practices as a means of working with the body, which essentially is what I mean by a bottom up approach. And there can be this illusion that meditation is all within the mind. I even think meditation starting with M and then mind as well, starting with M. We just think it's shoulders up, but it really is working with the body. Um, but when I refer it back to myself, I have found that within my own personal experience, a lot of the work has been with uncovering how to safely feel
Yeah,
again. But I
yeah,
think we just really switch that off as coping mechanisms and a means to stay safe in this world, especially growing up.
yeah,
So a lot of my personal practices has steered towards the body, and that's what I feel so passionate and sharing with other people. I feel like it's so needed. We're just so used to living up here, and
yeah,
we need the mind to
yeah,
think and get to things on time, but we really don't practice being in here.
yeah.
And so I feel really, really passionate about sharing that with the world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's that's absolutely beautiful. Not to mention that if you're not really having that approach, it like kind of comes back to haunt you in some way along the line
Mm,
if you're not taking care of your body or not paying attention to signs within your body, um like stress and even trauma and things like that. Like we hold on to it. I mean, I actually did a yoga certification myself, and I went through a teacher training. It was a really unbelievable experience. And I realized that I held like a lot of stuff in my hip flexors and like our
mm.
junk drawer. My teacher used to say it was like your junk drawer. And I'm like, oh, my hips hurt. Yeah. And as I've gotten older, the more I'd like, if I'm not in tune with my body, the more like aches and pains will come up. And I'm like, there's things I'm not dealing with. Like I need to deal with these things and dealing with them and thinking about them, and whether it's with a mindset person or counseling or something like that, it is really helpful for me. It's really beneficial. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I remember too, like when we were at the retreat, one thing that like I'd never really thought about. I mean, I guess like, I mean, you introduced me to the nervous system, like regulation, understanding that. But I remember one thing that I have like held with me since the retreat that I like ask myself all the time. Like, you were like, so like, how do you feel? And then you were like, okay, but like, how does that feel? And then like, how does that feel? And like, keep going until like you're like, okay, where is this like physically, emotionally? And it's just like a really interesting thing that I have taken with me. And I even use that like with Jake, my boyfriend. I'm like, okay, so how do you feel? And he's like, I'm tired. I'm like, okay, but how does that feel? Like, so I just feel like, I don't know, like everything that you teach regarding that is just it's like on a deeper level than what we would normally think about when we're explaining how we feel or what we're thinking. And I would love if you could like kind of share like where did you start thinking that this was your passion? This is what you wanted to teach. Like how did you start learning this?
Hmm. it's all through personal experience and trying different things on.
Yeah.
Um, and I would, try with just talk therapy, and it definitely has a place and it is very helpful. Um, but there was always sort of a missing piece that I couldn't quite wrap my head around or understand. And since being actually really young, I have always been really sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a not so good thing. And now I realize that it's actually my superpower. And I'm really grateful that I have this ability to deeply feel. But what comes with that is I feel it all. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
feel that beautiful sense of joy and excitement and love and gratitude. And then also that deep sense of pain and grief and sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's been a time where I've actually blocked that out and I've numbed it. Um, Out of it felt just too much to feel, and I didn't have the awareness, the understanding, healthier coping mechanisms to really be with it. So I did just numb it, whether it was drinking or even like Netflix, your phone,
Yeah.
anything at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Be lots of numbing. And so I guess having actually had experienced the not feeling, I realized that I want to live a full life of being in this human body. And to be in this human body, it is to deeply feel, to
Mm-hmm.
feel it all. And if we can't really feel the not so nice stuff, I say in quotation marks, we don't really have this ability to feel all of the other beautiful joy, excitement, whatever it may be. So it's been through my own experience, and then also the communities that you're in and the connections that you form and the people that you do work with, and allowing them to understand their body, feel safe in their body, to feel again. Um, I realize that it is so, so needed. And we are all different. So we need
Mm-hmm.
different modalities, different connections. But one thing we do have in common is that we all have thoughts, we all have feelings, we all have sensations. So let's learn to meet them and work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And one
Yeah.
thing you said too about like feeling like as a sensitive person. I mean, like I can speak for both my mom and I. We are both very sensitive people.
Yeah.
And
Woohoo.
I think like that can be looked at like we're almost taught like that's bad,
Yeah.
especially like as women, because it's like used as like a weapon in some ways, like, oh well, she's so sensitive
Yeah.
because she feels like this or that. So I
Mhm.
love that like you're taking that and just turning that completely upside down and being like, this is like a superpower that you have, like this is something that you have as a gift that you can take and bring out into the world, and this is how you can use it even when it doesn't feel the greatest sometimes. So
Yeah.
I love that.
No, that's a beautiful way of looking at it. And also, one of the things that you mentioned as a numbing thing that I never really thought of until you said that was like Netflix. Like I'm like, did she just say Netflix? I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that. I'm like, I'm doing that with Netflix. And and so because I don't do some of those other things most of the time to numb, but I definitely use TV as a distractor sometimes. And I guess that's when I need to kind of ask myself, what am I trying to avoid? Like and one of the reasons I actually did the yoga training to start with, it because it was hot yoga, was to like learn to be like comfortable in the uncomfortable. And
Mm,
so I wanted to like figure out how to do that and how to open myself up to it. And one of the things even that you just mentioned that just made me think of that, like we were doing, well, I learned that I like don't like I'm like constantly trying to protect my heart. And so we did this pose and they had their foot in my back. And I remember like you were just couldn't be any more open. And I just started sobbing. Like it was like such a release of
mm,
emotion. And it really is unbelievable how much you do store in your own body and like how you take all of that along with you. So I like the idea of thinking about really like feeling your feelings. because I also know what you
Yeah.
mean by like I can remember specifically when I was a media specialist in a school, like walking down the hall and being able to feel the energy coming out of the classrooms and feel like the kids were in such a they were having such a hard time, and I could just feel their pain, and I'm like I felt like all of my nerve endings were like going crazy because it was so much at one time. And I remember feeling like, oh my goodness, I can't take all of this on. It feels so heavy and so hard. Um, but so I think that's interesting how sometimes you really feel those things and other times you, you're numbing them somehow.
Absolutely, yeah. And I find it interesting when you say, there's a time where you finally opened your heart. Um, and that was beginning with like a physical way and how that
Yeah.
connects emotionally and energetically. And my oh my, we walk around day to day just putting walls and guards up over our hearts.
Hmm.
Um, and it makes a lot of sense. We are just trying to protect ourselves from many different situations, people, and things. Um, and it actually feels kind of more familiar for us at times just to keep it closed. It feels safer that way.
Hmm.
But to open it, as you say, can also be a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to do it more often because as I'm listening to
Yeah.
you, I'm like, okay, I did that then. That was like 8 years ago. Um, no, I feel like my natural instinct has kind of gone back to I'm gonna minimize myself.
Mm,
Protect. I'm gonna protect. Yeah. So I think, yeah, I feel like that's something I need to look at.
I've noticed that
that's
about
beautiful.
myself actually recently. Like it's something that I was like, I was like looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like trying to get more comfortable just like with like my body, just like being a body. And I'm like, like my
Mm,
posture is like a little bit like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I'm like and I wasn't trying to like look at myself and judge myself and be like, "Ugh, well, you look this or that." It was more of just like I'm kind of slouching. Like I am not a short person, like, but I'm also not like super tall. But I'm like, why am I almost like having my shoulders go down and making myself a little bit smaller? And it was like I realized that like I the things that I have struggled with my own confidence, with the way that I look, with the way that I feel, I'm like, I'm almost, not almost, I am putting myself in a position to where I literally am making myself smaller and like making myself put down physically every day. And
mm,
I was talking to Jake about this and I was like, I need help because I'm like, it's gonna take some time for me to like remember to like stand up straight and I was like, because it even feels weird. I'm like, I'm doing it right now. How do I look like I'm just like sticking out my chest? And he's like, no, you
Yeah.
look like normal. And I was like, okay, so if you notice that like I'm like shrinking myself, I want you to like gently tell me that because I want to remember that I'm allowed to like take up space and I'm allowed
mm,
to feel in that space and to exist in that space just how I am. So that's just, yeah, I don't know. It's something that I've noticed recently and I've been really trying to work on. Like, even when I take Daisy, my dog, out for a walk, I'm like, I'm gonna have really good posture walking out on the sidewalk. And like, if a car passes by, like, they're gonna think she's really confident and she like knows what she's doing. And it's made a mental difference with that change too.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that's so interesting. I definitely feel like I'm doing that. And the more I'm listening and thinking about this, I'm like, I'm doing this a lot. I'm like avoiding connection at all. Like even when I go into the grocery store, I'm like, I got my AirPods in. I'm like, don't talk to me. I'm listening to a podcast. I don't think I'm being rude. I'm not trying to be rude to people, but but it's like I'm avoiding any kind of contact, which is like a strange to think about like why
Mm,
or where that is coming from. um I guess being hurt, feeling hurt, being scared of being hurt again. I don't know. I think that's
yeah,
an interesting prospect. So I like the standing
definitely.
up straight. I used to teach my students, we would do the superhero pose. before we're getting ready to take a test. I'm like, all right. So we would stand and like we would do it for a whole 60 minutes of everyone would be, standing and then they would feel more empowered. And then, we would go into whatever difficult thing we had to do. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. With the kind of people that you're working with, Caroline, would you say that like they come to you and they know that they're feeling like all of these things, that they're maybe feeling guarded or they're feeling um like they know things are like not really regulated or they don't know the tools? Like how would you say they like come to you with these things?
Mm. So a lot of the settings I work with people at the moment is more like in group settings as well
Mm,
within the yoga studio and retreats. And then you do have
yeah.
the more personal connections with that. Um, and so, yeah, a lot of people, um, I guess, it really does start with awareness. And awareness is something that we do need to learn to cultivate, and it's a practice.
Hmm.
Um, and we can be told all of these things, like I I have anxiety, or um, I have depression, or whatever it may be, and it's totally allowed. It's totally all good, these labels, but we really, really do think of it as this is me. So
Hmm.
it's like I am anxiety rather than at times I experience moments of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
because it's just a part of us. It's
yeah.
something that we experience here and there, and we begin to so strongly identify with these things, which can make us actually feel quite small, as you were saying
Mm-hmm.
before. And it can make us feel like we're broken and we're not worthy when really innately we're all absolutely whole. And I think what a lot of us have forgotten is that we are naturally whole and we naturally have this innate intelligence within us. And we just forget that. It gets really clouded over at times because there are all these labels and these things that we should be doing and we feel like we're doing wrong because there's just so much noise out there,
Mm,
that it feels like we're never really living up to these expectations that we place upon ourselves
Mm-hmm.
or society places upon us. Um, and so, what I would say is a lot of people that I work alongside have just forgotten
mhm,
that they are naturally whole. Um, and we just really, really believe these things to be so true about ourselves that we think we are broken, when really that's not the case at all. And people just need to be reminded. And I think also the most beautiful thing can be co regulation and having a connection where you are just so seen and heard, and there's no
mhm.
judgment, no critiquing, no shame around any parts that we dislike or don't enjoy about ourselves. So I think, yeah, that at the essence, a reminder that we're whole.
Yeah. I love
Mm.
that. I love
Yeah.
that so much. And I think like you are just the perfect person to be in the position to guide people through that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like when I was at the retreat with you and Jaden and Des, it was like just like the energy that you
Yeah.
provide is like this space to like be held. And like that was something that you had said when we were there and I was like that's just like the best way to put it. Like to really just truly like be nurtured and held for just being, like period. And it was just such a beautiful experience to be a part of and to also watch other women who were there that were all having all these different kinds of experiences and we're coming from different backgrounds, but everybody is like innately craving like the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, like as
Mm.
being like just being a human.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of wild to think about because I think we go through day to day and we scroll through social media and we see people all over of like, we're like, oh, we're so different from them, or we don't have this, and we're just like constantly in that like comparison cycle. But
Mhm.
when you really like sit down with it at the end of the day, like we're all wanting love and care and acceptance. Like
Yeah.
that's really all like we're looking for. So it's like we're all the same. We're just different from where it came from.
Yeah. Also, I like
Absolutely.
the part about reminding them that they're not broken. That really resonates with me a lot. And you
Mhm.
seem to me like I know that you are, I think did you say she was around your age, Emily?
I think so.
Yeah,
Caroline, I don't
around.
know how old you are. I'm like, you seem very
I'm
young. So,
24.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so
so
we're the same age. Yeah.
yeah, so you're the same age. And so to me, it just feels you seem so wise and
Hmm.
like I feel like I could easily trust you, which has been a struggle for me. Not my whole life. I've been pretty like open with people, but like later I have like had some trust issues, but I don't feel that way with you. You automatically have this energy that makes it feel safe. And I'm like, how? And I mean, I guess this is true of you as well, Emily. And so I'm like, how did this like you're you're so young. You don't have this whole truckload of baggage that you've carried along your journey. And I just think it's so interesting and also very inspirational that you have come to this at this age, like at this younger age, and it hasn't taken you a lifetime to, I mean, I'm sure it feels like a lifetime to you, to both of you, but when you're like twice that age or more, it feels like I don't know, it's very impressive. I can't find the words. Very impressive.
I think
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say like it doesn't come with like a truckload of baggage because I like while it's definitely like it's there's no comparing like what
Yeah,
you've experienced versus what I've experienced versus what Caroline has experienced.
yeah.
But I do think that like, and I can't speak for you, Caroline, from this, but I know for me that I feel like the
You do
things
have a
that I,
truckload. Yeah,
yeah, the things that I have experienced and the way that I have become who I am and how I
yeah.
hold myself is from the things that have hurt me and that I want to learn from and that I've grown from and that
Hmm.
I've interacted with different kinds of people to make it better for my future.
Yeah,
I think that we're fortunate in a way of the world we live in now is a little bit more open
yes,
to
yes.
learning how to heal sooner and to like take
Yeah,
care of your spirit and your body and like the overall like essence of what you're doing. That's more of something that's talked about than it
yeah,
was when you were 24. Like
yeah, for sure.
that's not something that was really
No,
like a more I don't think
yeah,
it's I wish it was more common, but I think that it is something that people are more
yeah, definitely. No,
aware
you're
of.
right. And I don't mean to minimize the things that either one of you have experienced. That's not how I intended
No,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Just so I make sure that I'm clear
I
because
didn't think you were
yeah,
minimizing.
I definitely don't feel that way. I think it's more of like myself feeling like, wow, I wish that I had the knowledge or the self-awareness at your age, like how different my life would have ended up if I had been really aware of those kinds of things at 24. I mean, life would have been, different. Not that I would want it to be any different than it is, but I don't know. I appreciate that wisdom at the point where you are.
Mm. I really believe too that we each just have different soul paths. And part of me actually knows that as a child, I did have to grow up quite quickly. And so I'm not sure if that's a great thing or a not
Mhm.
so great thing. Who knows? Um, but I do feel like, too, we each just have unique soul paths. And some of us are maybe just meant to evolve a little more quickly than others, or We have different things to do in this lifetime. Okay, you need to evolve now so you can do this thing and then the next thing and whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find the age thing to be, it's so interesting. It's
Yeah.
just a number.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone if they said if they actually told you right up front, like I feel closed off, like what would be the first thing that they could do?
I think firstly, an acknowledgement for having that awareness, uh, to notice about themselves and to speak up about it. I find that is just such a gift to self. And then with that, to start to practice slowing down and
Mm,
tuning inwards towards yourself. And that can look like many different ways, whether it's meditation, whether it's, going to a yoga class, that in itself is slowing down and even having that accountability to start
Mhm.
with.
mhm,
And that can even set the foundation for your day ahead, moving into it a little slower.
mm,
Whether it's actually removing some things off the calendar and not having it so jam packed,
mhm,
um, to not be doing and achieving and driving all the time. Because as we slow down, we're not distracting anymore and we're not
mhm.
overriding our system. So we have this ability to notice, like, oh, okay, that's there,
Yeah.
and beginning to feel into whatever is there, just the reality of our experience without trying to get rid of it or just move on without it. So I'd say just start by slowing down, creating space. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is a good it is a good it is a good reminder because
Mm,
even though it doesn't it
No, it
sounds
doesn't
simple,
sound easy.
it's
No.
not simple. Like it's definite,
yeah.
especially if you that has become like kind of a crutch that you lean on is like the constant busy, 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 and I don't have to feel
Yeah.
where I am. I appreciate that. I wasn't asking for a friend. I was asking for myself. So
I love that.
wow.
Yeah. And with that, also asking for support, because sometimes when we've been so eager to keep going and moving, it's because we feel a bit uncomfortable at times to be with these sensations and emotions and parts of us.
Mhm.
And so sometimes to have that co regulation, that connection, someone also shines some light on just holding you in your essence to be able to feel,
Mhm.
that can be incredibly powerful. Like, I haven't done everything alone, and the support I have had, though, has been to help me build that relationship with myself so
Mhm.
I can tend to those things with myself and also with the safety of someone else too when need be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that's huge.
Mhm.
Community is
Mm,
so huge.
Mhm.
That's something that I've like within the past couple of years since we moved out of we were living more south, Jake and I, and then we moved a little more north and now we're connected with our church more and like more people that are involved in that and like finding like our people to be able to go to them and be like this is what I'm dealing with and I need you for this and also holding that space for them too and realizing like
mm,
how important a community is just in our day to day like as humans we weren't made to do anything by ourselves like we were like that just literally we weren't made that way so like leaning into the fact that we have people around us for a reason and like allowing it to for them to be there is such a powerful thing. So,
hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to be seen and heard.
Hmm.
Yeah. Incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
Mm,
for sure. Uh,
hmm.
I'm so glad that you came on here.
Me too.
I feel like I could just like ask you questions and listen to you talk all day long.
This is so fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to ask you a couple lightning round questions. Um,
Ooh.
yeah. And then after that, I would love if you could just like basically tell us a little bit about the things you got going on. So like the retreat, anything that you're offering, stuff like that, so that way people know where to find you and how to get their hands on all that good stuff. So,
Oh,
all right. So let's see. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
oh, I love this one. Oh, isn't it funny when someone asks you to rate yourself
Yeah.
Yeah.
with a skill? Oh my gosh, my
Yeah.
ego is like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say an eight. I
That's
actually
good.
Yeah.
I rate myself quite highly with my driving,
Yeah.
and I can parallel park um
Yeah. That's impressive.
relatively well, and so that's a skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I can drive manual, and I thoroughly enjoy driving. It's actually quite a happy place for me. Just
Mhm.
I think to be in your own four walls. Is
Yeah.
it four walls? I guess so. Um, and I always have really good cries, good laughs,
Mhm.
good
Yes.
music. It's the best time.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's
Yeah.
so true. Yeah, it's funny.
I agree. I feel the same way. I used to actually like driving a lot more. I was in a car accident in 2019, and since then, like there
Mm,
had been some like I was a little shaken, but I feel like now I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, like I could be in my car and just like listen to a podcast or listen to music. Like it just feels good.
Yeah. Oh, great question. I love that.
Okay, next one. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. That would have been Taylor Lautner. That's his name.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, Twilight.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the same birthday as me, so I was like, oh my gosh. I think I
Yeah.
had a poster
We're
on
meant
my
to
wall.
be. Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, yeah, definitely him. Yeah,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, that's funny.
Now he's like married to another person named Taylor. Taylor
Oh,
and
is he?
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow,
they're
that's
so
cool.
cute. Yeah.
They are cute.
Oh, I need
Yeah.
to check that out. Don't want to get
Yeah.
too jealous though, you know?
Yeah. She's like the sweetest person, so it's like hard to be
Oh,
jealous of her because I'm like they're just like they just seem like they're meant to be and I'm like, all right. Oh, okay,
yeah.
fine. You
All
can
right.
marry her, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
last question for you. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
oh, 18. That was a interesting year. I would say to her to trust herself and that feeling that doesn't make sense. It
Mhm.
doesn't have many words, to trust that feeling, and to let that feeling guide you, and that it's okay to not need to fit in and
Mm,
live into the societal norms, and you are safe to go and live life in a way that feels really true and meaningful for you, even if you don't know what that is yet, but there was an inkling, so just follow that inkling.
mm,
Yeah.
That's good. That would have
yeah,
been helpful for my 18-year-old self.
Wouldn't
For
it? So
sure.
helpful.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. Well, so tell us where we can find you. Tell a little bit about the retreat too, so that people know that that's coming up in Peru.
That's
Oh,
exciting.
so exciting. So
Yeah.
exciting. So yeah, next retreat is in Peru, May 2025. Jaden and I went there last year after our retreat. Um, and we actually just meditated under the mountains, and we knew
Oh,
that we would be back. And it is such a special place. Quite hard to put it into words because the energy of the place just
Mm,
feels so electrical and
yeah.
gentle yet powerful at the
Yeah.
same time. And feel really excited to bring this retreat together and the flair of cyclical living from Jaden, and then more of the nervous system regulation and just learning to feel safely again within yourself is what I bring to the retreat. And the combination is really special, along with the connection, community, and the environment, as you'd know. So that feels really, really exciting, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you
so cool.
are listening and you're like, that is something I need, then we'll have the link to that below so you can check that out. And I will also link all of Caroline's information. So if you have questions, you can always ask her. But yeah, I think that like investing in yourself in that way is
Mhm.
a huge deal. It's something that I think everyone should do at least once.
Mm,
It honestly, like when I went to Bali, like it changed my life. Like it
Yes.
was that sounds like to somebody who has like never done something like that, it's like that's a little dramatic, like chill. But it really isn't. Like it truly like you go and like it's just something you can't explain. Like it's magic. That's the best
Yeah.
way that I can explain it. So if you're looking for something like that, Caroline and Jaden are the best people to do that through, speaking from experience. So definitely check out that retreat and check out all the things that Caroline has to offer. So yeah, thank you for coming
Thank you.
on and sharing your beautiful self with us. Yeah, that's all we got for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so special, the two of you together, amazing. And Em, just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, you're amazing.
Thank you.